Now, we were talking last week on and off about these dreadful events in Minneapolis and the killing by an ICE agent of Renee Good. There has been another incident, thankfully not ending in the woman's death, but there's a moment, you can see it on the LBC website, a woman is dragged from her vehicle by ICE agents in Minnesota as she attempted, she said, to get to a doctor's appointment. Have a listen to some of what happened. I'm trying to get to the doctor up there, I think is what she was saying there. Now, John, I've watched the whole of that, or the snippet of the whole that we had available. The whole time I was watching it, I was sort of in my mind urging her not to move an inch forward in case it inflamed this ICE agent or the various ICE agents around the car. In the end, she was dragged out of the car. But it's an example of just how hair trigger everything is at the moment in America when it comes to these exchanges.
We started the podcast yesterday with the sound of protests on the streets of Tehran and the terrifying sounds of the gunfire. Now, admittedly, it wasn't terrifying sounds of gunfire, but it was flashbangs. It looked like the security forces, federal security forces, under the control of Donald Trump, doing his bidding in a city where the city don't want those people, the ICE officers, the immigrations and custom enforcement officers there. And you could play that clip. You could, honestly, there are dozens and dozens.
Yeah, they're all over social media.
Of social media of the most egregious things happening in a country that's supposedly got a libertarian streak.
The worst one I've seen is an ICE agent saying to a woman who was just arguing back a bit. She was being vicious or sarcastic or anything like that. And he just said, "Have you learned nothing from last week?" And
exactly.
I thought, my God.
Exactly. You may be shot.
Yeah.
There was another video that I saw of this kid being, bloodied, crying, what had happened to him. And then the Department of Homeland Security issued a statement saying he had been arrested because he had assaulted an ICE officer. And you think, okay, well, if he's assaulted an ICE officer, is he going to be charged? No, he wasn't charged. He was released. But he was given a bit of a kicking.
In the process.
Behind, where the cameras weren't. And you think, hang on, that's not how justice operates in America, surely. And these ICE officers are going around with bandanas. You can't see their faces.
And to be clear, they're not all police officers, are they?
No.
Some of them now have police ICE on their
so
clothing.
it is a federal force that traditionally existed at the southern border to make sure that illegal immigrants weren't coming across. And what Donald Trump is doing is using them as his, almost, it feels like, his own personal militia. And Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff at the White House, very close to Donald Trump, went on TV yesterday to say to the ICE officers, guys, you've got total immunity to do what you want to do. And if anyone lays a hand on you, you can arrest them. That's a felony offence. And so far from saying to the police authorities, OK, let's calm this down, let's use moderation, the White House messages, double down, go in hard, you've got immunity.
And at the same time, the president is putting out statements on Truth Social to Iran and Iranians saying, keep protesting, keep putting pressure on them. It's just like
I know, it's hard to reconcile.
It is, isn't it?
His view of the Iranian protesters who are legitimate freedom fighters against the protesters. And, look, it's not like you are being arrested because you are under suspicion of having done something. You're being arrested and stopped on suspicion of being brown, or on suspicion of being
irritating,
black, or suspicion of being irritating. And, you may be a third generation US passport holder from a Hispanic background or Somali background. Your parents were born in the country, your grandparents were born in the country, and you're being stopped just because you've got dark skin and saying, prove who you are, otherwise we're putting you in the back of the vehicle. So what are you meant to do? You're meant to carry your passport with you at all times now, in case you're stopped? I think it's terrifying. And it's interesting, a podcaster maybe even more influential than the news agents in America called Joe Rogan.
I know one.
Who is huge in America and vital for MAGA support, says on his show yesterday said, this is like the Gestapo.
Yeah.
Produce your papers or else.
And he talked about Renee Good turning away before she was shot.
And so when you have lost people of influence like that, who've been at Donald Trump's side, who've been incredibly helpful to Donald Trump, I think there's a real danger of overreach here, and that the backlash will be profound. Yeah, sure, some in the Trump base will love the fact that these people are being treated like that, but I think an awful lot of Americans, this sounds and feels and looks profoundly un-American.
And how it sits with those Iranian messaging as well is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Thank you very much, John. John Sopel, host of the News Agents podcast, with a story from here and from the States.